Again, reminding that book is called the Book of Kadam, and then our root text called the Jewel Garland, composed by Atisha to advise to his disciple, Dromtempa, and all the others' disciple, right? And then as to us, same. So we finished that verse 6 as the 8 line. I mean, like two stanzas. The first stanza we finished, which is reveal your own shortcomings, but do not seek out others' errors. Conceal your own good qualities, but proclaim those of the others. That's we finished the last class. So today we'll talk the next one, saying here, forsake wealth and ministrations. At all times, relinquish gain and fame. Have modest desires, be easily satisfied, and what's called? Reciprocate kindness. Okay. And then at the same, cultivate love and compassion, and stabilize your awakening mind. This is the main practice. Stabilizing the awakening mind is the main practice. But in order to doing this, those are kind of like a requirement. If you do like a reveal your own shortcoming and not seeking others' error and so on, that's one requirement. And say here, the forsake wealth and administrations, right? At all time, relinquish gain and fame. So it's saying you are abandon or relinquish both the gain and fame and wealth administrators, right? Yeah. So again, this is very difficult for us to do that. It automatically comes within our daily life, seeking more gain and fame, right? So, and instead of seeking more wealth and administrations. And then we have a lot of reason to do that. We have a lot of excuse to do that. Yeah, I have to wealth. So because I cannot survive it, I have to be ministrated, I gain more fame. It makes more happy. Those are the reasons that in our daily life think it is necessary to have gain and fame, right? And it's necessary to have that administrations and wealth. So, but this not really have to go deep, investigate to seeing those are not really exactly cause to having peaceful, right? So just little analyze it, see the world, and see the richest people and investigate with them. And then also your life experience. It talks a lot of it's not exactly the cause for peace life. Instead of causing peace life, those brings you more suffering within yourself, within community and world, right? So this is but here, why it's automatically, naturally within us, those thoughts, right? Because go back to the source, the mental afflictions, and here, self-grasping. As well as we have a self-grasping, and then those mental afflictions, which is driven by self-grasping, then those thoughts will remaining, and their thoughts are think it's necessary and important our life. So this is how it comes in nature. And on the other hand, I can say we did not find another solution, or we did not find another method beside this. Therefore, we think it's important, right? this means I'm thinking gaining more wealth and administrations and fame things, right? This is best things, necessary things which we think is because we did not find another solutions. Yeah. So, and then in these words, when we talk this, maybe most of them will not agree, saying that you relinquish. It's relinquish or relinquish? Relinquish, thank you. So it's a relinquish gain and fame. Almost no one accepted, right? And as well, wild administrator, there's no one accepted. From morning to evening, from month to year, we do for this, isn't it? We're running after for this. Wealth administrations, fame, reputations. Every time we for this, and most of our expectation expected with these thoughts. These are right. So, and this is becomes very common with us and very natural, established in our daily life. Those thoughts and those expectations are. Now here the text teaching us you should abandoning this. Okay, you should abandoning this. So in a practical way, 100% sure that we cannot abandon forever or at the moment right now. Definitely not. So, but we can begin it to reducing one by one, right? So reduce your expectation for having those. And then before you reduce it, take your time. Reducing this is getting more happy, or not reducing or keeping this is getting more happy. Examining it and analyze it. Then when you see it, then you begin to reduce, right? To not too much expectating for gain and fame, or as well other things, right? So I'm not saying wealth is 100% bad, right? It's very much depend on the person how it's taken. It's exactly same all the technologies in today's, like the phone, TV, or all this technology, included AI. So it's depend on the person how to use it. It's not their wrongs. The person's 100%, we do have a control how to use it, right? So if you use it for learning, studying, and more like gaining knowledge or changing yourself, then worth to use it. If you use for just passing your time or just desire to watching world news and movie, this is wrong way to use it, right? And then children that we see, the children, when they do have a phone, immediately they go to the game, right? As children, we see it. When we look at, we think, why is necessary to play game? But children say, yes, it's important for me, right? Well, see this, we clearly see that the video game, right? The games, right? Children think it's very important. And then when they ask, they have 100 answers for that. They have 100 excuses for that. I can play, right? Because I'm tired to doing homework. This makes me relax. Actually not, that's that they said, they makes me relax. That's one example, and so on, so on. But we are not the game what children playing, but we are on different game. But then we apply lots of excuse for that. Regarding that, we are children. So, right? So only the part of the game change it, but otherwise your desire is there to like hanging around to something, right? Which is meaningless. Those are, we can learn from children, okay, how we think they are. We think they are like innocence and less experience, more ignorance. That's we see it, right? But within adult, some great practitioner see us same. More ignorance, right? So, and then some part of innocence, naive. So, but we not think that. We are think smart. I am smart. What do you think? I am smart. So, anyhow, so those learn from children and then say here, this is not really helpful to gaining peace and happy. But until today, we think it's very important and necessary, right? So it's changing it today is almost impossible. As I mentioning, we should begin it, investigate first. When you make sure and it's confirmed, it is not the exactly cause for having peaceful, then why you need to change it, right? And changing is not change in one day everything. That's impossible. If you try to do that, you're losing then. You are almost close to having failed to complete it. So changing is begin with a small amount and like a very gentle and reduce time by time. That's practical. That brings you exactly completely change, right? You here now, you investigate, you think, and you want to change the day. That's you try, then it's not happening. That's we call was it dog barking? When dog gets strong, angry, they whoa, 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 and then they're done, right? So that's kind of things. We are, I have to do right now, I have to do right now. Complete everything's here, and 2 days it makes you tired. Definitely it makes you tired, right? And then once getting tired, then it will let you see, I'm separate than other. I'm different than others. Oh yeah, I shouldn't do that then. Then you can go back. You are going back then, right? If you gently change, which no one noticed it, even you are not noticed it, but you try to do something, that's good to do it. Every practice after you hear that, always go with the gentle and maybe say gentle, yeah. So regarding this, yes, we can definitely go there. And then these are the prerequisite or requirement to cultivating awakening mind, right? Awakening mind, which I mentioned last time, it's bodhicitta, in Sanskrit called bodhicitta. Awakening mind and bodhicitta is same. And what is bodhicitta, I also explained at the time. So, but those are the kind of like a preliminary or preparations to do, and actual cultivations of awakening minds, that we must cultivate the love and compassion before it. So cultivating love and compassion, then awakening mind comes, otherwise not. So, but in a daily practice, in like a practical way to do practice, the first hour, you should try to do it, right? And then day by day, if you do that, it makes you more easy to cultivate love and compassion. Once you cultivate it, then it makes you easy to cultivate awakening mind, okay? So part of that I will read from that commentary, Atisha. So what need is there of desire for this mind? Cultivate contentment. Even though you perceive many sentient beings, all of them are your father and mothers. Question. Who have taken joys in your overcoming of misfortune and attainment of good fortune. Question for us, right? And they have cleaned your runny nose. Today we have a cloth to cleanse and pepper to cleanse, right? But earlier time, the mothers licks their people. Their love did not see it's ugly or dirty. Their love did not see it, right? Their desire did not see that it's ugly and dirty. So they lick theirs like a running nose, and the children comes there, right? All the licks. Look at the animal. That licks everything. Words the baby has a dirty, right? They didn't see it's ugly. For us, some part is actually ugly. One desire come, we didn't see. We didn't see it's ugly. This simple example, right? So something inner control comes, then makes us blind, makes us dumb, right? Makes us change to different world. But when it's not, then we are in another world then. So you see, this is funny life, but it's precious life. Okay, so I will continue to read it. Your excrement with their hands have nurtured your within kingdoms and with gift. And some, maybe Chopal, you can read it, maybe their English, your English might, it's good to try to understand.
They have cleaned your runny nose with their mouths, your excrement with their hands, have nurtured you with kingdoms and with gifts, and some, despite having been abandoned by us, have cared for us again. It is due to the kindness of the teacher that their positive qualities are revealed. In general, it is the teacher who has done you great kindness of granting you your ultimate aim. And it is your parent who is the source of great kindness, granting you joy and happiness in this life. You should therefore recognize their kindness and repay their kindness.
Okay. This is the reason and meaning why we have to cultivate awakening in mind, why we have to cultivate love and compassion for all sentient beings. But for us, a lot of questions from this paragraph, right? The first question, how come all sentient beings my father and mother, right? And second question is, how comes all my parents are pushing me to attain all good fortune and like an overcoming or misfortune? How come it, right? So the second part, I don't think is very difficult for us to see it, but the first part, definitely, we might difficult to find, to understand it or accepting it, saying all the beings are my father and mother. It's totally Buddhist perspective, Buddhist perspective, based on their logic, philosophy, right? So, but one way you can think, the cultivating love and compassion for having awakening mind is doing this thing regarding your own benefit. We must do this is the best way to do it. Regarding the benefit for other, of course, we should have to have this mind. Even benefit for your own, right? So temporary benefit, long-term benefit, both compassion in the best. Awakening mind is the best, right? That's how I'm saying it. So, so your own benefit, again, go back. That what we're seeking is happiness and happiness, right? And then the temporary happiness, long-term happiness, both it brings you by this kind of thoughts, that altruism thoughts will help you to have those. Otherwise, it cannot, because we do have an experience until today. What we gain, peace, nothing to gain, right? So, so therefore, I'm not going to talk too much regarding that. all sentient beings, my father and mother. Unless you want to hear that, I can go ahead. Otherwise, I'll skip that. Instead of that, look at the benefit for cultivating this awakening in mind, and also look at the all sentient beings are. Even you don't have to think your father and mother. You don't have to think it's all my kind to me, right? They are suffering. That's at least you can think. That's clear. We all might be easily accept that they are suffering, right? Then you might think, okay, their suffering is their suffering. Why this is my responsibility? Because their suffering is your suffering. Your happiness is their happiness, or their happiness is your happiness. Interdependent ones, right? There's another simple reason to encourage you to cultivate those, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Bob.
Is part of it saying that if the goal is to develop compassion for others, even if you don't, say, believe that every sentient being was at some point your mother or father, if you could at least imagine it and what they did for you, cleaning your excrement, etc., and all that, and developed you, it may be easy, if you look at each person like that, it may be easier to connect with them because you feel the unity with them, so it develops your own compassion easier than if you just looked at them as the other.
Yes, definitely. That's the whole point I'm saying. Is yes, thank you. Say, when you go outside, someone shows anger to you. Instead of seeing anger, if you think they are suffering, it's a big change your thoughts, right? It's change your thought. And if you gain it, then after you change thought, they nothing gain it. You gain peace because not like a anger back, right? Because you're just seeing suffering instead of anger. But it is, we not made it up anger as a suffering, right? It is one part of suffering. When you have anger, how you experience it. Very annoying, uncomfortable, or just don't want to talk or don't want to eat. All those comes by anger, right? And then plus you want to fight back, hits back, resentment, and so on and so on. Also, all these minds, all these thoughts, isn't that cause you have some kind of uncomfortable? Part of that suffering, right? So therefore, I'm not saying anger is suffering. While you have anger within your mind, thoughts, so many stress there, that's part of suffering. Many uncomfortable there, that's part of suffering. Many dissatisfaction there, that's part of suffering. So therefore, seeing as a suffering is not wrong. Right? So, but our habit always see as anger, it's either wrong, it's not also wrong, right? It's not also wrong, but both are not wrong. To seeing they shows anger or seeing they are suffering. Which is more benefiting, it's our own hands. Deciding, we can decide it, right? It's our own hand to decide it. I should see as they're showing me anger, or I should see as they're having suffering. So smart intelligence, then your hand. Everything's your hand, right? So, but don't forget there are a lot of another negative emotion talks us when you do that, right? We say, okay, I try to see it, they are suffering. Then some part of your negative emotion, the desire or some kind of attachment said, oh, you might lose your fame if you do that. Or they might see you silly if you do that. the desire towards us, right? The expectation towards us, that expectation who's gaining or try to not lose our reputation, right? So that might talk to us, oh, if you think this is, then they might think you are weak. They might think you are silly, not fight back, not yell back, all right? Because as you see suffering, then your reaction is different. That reactions, so your friends might see different. Your another mind thought might see different. Then at that moment, you have to careful say, okay, I'm not listening here. I'm not listening here. I'm not listening there, because I decided to choose see as a suffering, because I see this is more benefit for me. Then whatever another thoughts comes, whatever advice comes from my friends, I'm not listening that. That much you have to strong decided and then move forward, right? Otherwise, these are the obscuration to not let you move forward to better practice. You understand? Okay. So that is, very simple things, small things that you have to awake. Otherwise, it's it diluted you, or it disturbed you to move forward, to have better practice, right? So be smart and find it out at the moment, whatever thoughts comes, that thought is positive or negative. That thought is supporting to my aim or not. Always investigate, right? And again, I think this is depend on practice. If you're not familiar with the thinking of this, then you will follow whatever thoughts comes, right? If you are familiar with the analyze at the moment, then you can stop it, right? So even we have difficult, the monks who do a lot of debate, I can say they get really familiar with the investigate at the moment. Immediate, they are not rejecting, they are not accepting, they try to think it. That thoughts coming when you do a lot of debate, that thoughts comes in, and at the same time, a lot of questions comes. This is good to have the analytical mind, right? But who is not familiar, then they goes normal. Whatever arises, they follow it. Whatever arises, the thoughts, either negative or positive, they follow it at the moment. So therefore, we change a lot here and there, day by day. Okay. So this is how to practice, to see the, last time when I talked compassion, that all the point to changing your mind or cultivating to compassion is the changing your perspective. This is the point. Changing your perspective is the everything, right? When I share that. But if you look at the Buddhism, they have a little bit different step and different different practice there to cultivating compassion. But the changing perspective is I think, fundamental there. Because Buddhists say, or try to see all sentient beings your father and mother. Isn't that changing your perspective? It is changing our perspective, right? Try to see all those are kind for you. These are changing our perspective. Therefore, changing perspective is fundamental for general, like a believer or non-believer, or the different religions, whatever, whoever wants to cultivate the compassion, the fundamental is, I think, changing your perspective is the best. Then you can begin it. Then you can move forward it. Otherwise, it's different. So here, same changing perspective. Seeing anger as an anger, try to see is suffering, because it's not wrong, right? But we have a lot of reason to see all sentient beings are my father and mother. But what we see is not wrong. But it's difficult to understand that you might find wrong. That is okay. we don't have to go that way, right? But definitely, this kind of changing perspective is not wrong, right? So therefore, both are not wrong. Then why not we change to positive, better way, which helping me and then helping my families, right? Okay, so here also, okay, I can summary, otherwise talk a lot and this goes. What I mentioning previous is the cultivating awakening mind, love and compassion is important. This is depend on changing your perspective, but you don't have to go see that all beings are your sentient beings. See they are suffering. See they are suffering, right? And everything. So every what call once there arises negative emotion, that's easy for see us them as a suffering, right? But sometimes we have a difficult to see who has a positive thought, who is more relaxed, who have no any illness and sickness, then it's difficult to see them as having suffering, right? So, but put it aside, this kind of things, right? So it's difficult to see, but still we do have a explanation to see how they're suffering, but we can skip that. We're more focusing on the person who is difficulty in our daily life. Try to see them as a suffering, right? So I have two quotes from Three Principal Path, which is composed by Lama Tsongkhapa. It describes how sentient beings are suffering, right? It describes more than difficulty people, but we can apply for difficulty people after we read that. I can read it in Three Principal Path. Oh, thank you so much. I guess thoughtful. Yeah.
Honey.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you. So you say there are beings swept away constantly by four powerful rivers. I will explain later. Just first, I will read it. Right. Next, they are bound tightly with the fetters of karma, most difficult to escape. They are trapped inside the iron mass of self-grasping. They are enveloped from everywhere by a thick mist of ignorance. Oh yeah, and continues here. They take birth within circling existence that has no end, where they are endlessly tormented by the three sufferings. By reflecting on all your mothers who suffer such conditions, please generate the supreme awakening minds. Okay. So it's kind of this is poetry, right? It has an example and a meaning, how it's functioning. So the first line, the example is the four rivers, the strong rivers, Gangaputra or whatever rivers you can take it, like a Brahmaputra, right? The huge big rivers which run strong, right? It's not the tiny small rivers. So that is the example. First, we stay with the example, and this is the one example. And the second example is it is like a bound tightly with the fetters. Fetters is the example, which is bounding tightly, right? And second example is the trapped, which is made by iron. And so third example is the thick mist, very dark. So put it together. We say one person put in the trapped, which is irons, and tied their hand and leg both. That person tied their hand and leg, and then put in the trapped, the iron, and locked from outside, and through the big rivers in the dark time, and how much they will suffer. This is saying. I saw this kind of exactly punishing to someone. You know, it's not the river. They banned it. They handcuffed, and yeah, they wear the yellow cloth and handcuffed, and put it trapped, and then they're putting down in the water slowly. That much comes. Everyone watching slowly put in the water. At that moment, think you are at that person, how you feel it, right? So, good morning.
Sorry.
You don't want to go outside. So that imagine it, right? And how difficult it is. And then plus he say, once they have is endless suffering, right? 3 times of suffering, right? So endless suffering, once like a beginning, when they decided to put that person in this water, that person is too much, I think it's anxiety or so many emotion there, right? Fears, very strong fear there. Before you put it, once you begin it, how much fear there. And when it's actually functioning, time by time, that person, how much fear, right? Because that's how we see it. But invisibly, we happening exactly same like that. As well as it's invisible, we do not have a fear. This is the only difference. When you think it, it brings you fear. When you do not think it, no fear, right? So, but when we see it, we can feel that is fear, right? So, then you can say ignorance is blessing. Not know is good. So, sometimes people take us this intently, right? I don't learn it because ignorance is blessing. So, so that kind of imagine, and then see whoever sees the sentient being in front of you happening same. It's not that way, but it's similar. Here, giving example, instead of what called river, they're giving like a suffering. I mean, the 4 type of suffering, or 4 type of. You can bring chair from there, yeah, or here cushion, yeah, it's okay, yeah. So the 4 type of river is, the meaning is 4 type of mental afflictions, or sometimes explain the 4 type of suffering, which is birth, aging, death, and that you're familiar with it. But the 4 mental affliction, the wrong view, self-grasping, or ignorance, That's kind of things counting the four view. We can take as ignorance, okay, ignorantly, right? Or we can take as here regarding the self-grasping, right? Or self-grasping comes later. And then what is the fetters which tightening the wound is karma, which is difficult to escape it. Again, it's perspective of Buddhism. I don't know how much you can take it, but which is difficult to escape our negative thoughts, right? You can take that. And then trapped, that iron trapped is a self-grasping. The self-grasping trapped us in irons. And that we'll call the karmas binded us within suffering, right? And then it says like thickness is ignorant. Ignorance, thickness, which we cannot see ourselves what happening it, and difficult to see others what happening it because of ignorance, right? And those four self-grasping, this is which we're talking, self-grasping brings you all these negative thoughts. Self-grasping arises manifested your mental afflictions. Mental afflictions brings you negative thoughts. Negative thoughts lead you negative actions, and then circling within it, and then suffering comes, right? So instead of going with this, you can take this. This is every day. Self-grasping is over there, right? This is bringing us to death, and this is bringing us for endless suffering, right? But if you more absorbed as imagining that kind of picture, the way this kind of picture, then it's kind of like brings you some kind of fear, understanding that. And then the point is here, we try to see other beings as like this, how they are suffering, right? But sometimes reflected to yourself how you are suffering, then it's help you to understand how they are suffering. It is same, that this is exactly same. So what caused you have suffering exactly caused them have suffering. So therefore reflected your suffering briefly and try more observe to other beings, whoever in front of you, they are suffer by their ignorance. They are suffering by their actions and their karmas. And then it's not one time, two times, constantly, every day, months to years, and the whole entire life to having suffering, right? So it says the three types of suffering. I can maybe talk about the changing suffering. It might help us to see them how turn into the suffering, right? Changing suffering is, let's say,
Better to say the suffering of change.
the suffering of change, yeah. Suffering of change, it outside the cool, right? When we get inside, it's beginning warm. At that moment, at the pleasure. But at the same time, at that moment, suffering is beginning to turning into the now too much having heat, too much having hot. The too much having hot is not comes in the moment. We feel it, oh, now I'm too hot. But it's beginning once you feel comfortable at the moment. You follow my example? Okay, so so at the moment it begins suffering, right? And you become too much hot. And then you turn off the heater. Once you turn off the heater, again, you feel more comfortable. At the same time, again, start another suffering to turning into the too much cold. It started. So suffering always there, but that moment feeling or slowly comes, we will not notice that. So if we use logic, it's not comes at this immediately, right? So, but our body not notice that, our mind not notice that, slowly getting heat and more heat and more heat, and at the moment, so too much heat, right? Too much heat begin from little bit heat, right? So little bit heat is suffering for having too much heat. Little bit cold is having suffering for too much cold. So therefore, it look at every moment, cold and between cold and hot, continues having suffering. It's strong or not, it's noticed or not noticing. That's the only difference, right? Does it make sense for you? It not makes sense. We can definitely, it's difficult to accept it or difficult to understand sometime. Yeah, if not, then we can also continue discussion on it to understand that part. So therefore, almost there are no 100% happy and peaceful there. Because comfortable, same time sufferings begin it. Cold, right? And comfortable, same time suffering begins hard. So that's changing suffering, right? So we understand that part. Therefore, you can see them, when they relax in the heart, see, oh, okay, they will not stay there forever. They will come back because once they get too much, they will come back. When we take a vacation, they become a tent, our body, people like to be a tent, right? Tent, yeah. So then they stay in the sun. How long they can stay? How long, right? They once it continues, right? 3 hours, 4 hours, but they cannot. This is the suffering that we clearly see, right? So as we knowing that and then try to see them, almost there are no 100% peace there. Because as well as they have ignorance, self-grasping, negative emotion, and then changing suffering. Even though you are relaxed, you have a changing suffering. Of course, we are not difficult to see who is painful suffering. That's easy, can see it. So, but who is relaxed, you can see them as having changing suffering, right? So, and then almost there are no moment they are 100% having happiness, completely happiness. There are no moment there, right? Just begin here and there to suffering, always associated with the suffering. So it's good to think every day for others, right? That makes you change. But you learn, then, okay, I'm good now, it's good. Makes sense for me, as you said it. So, and then you forget it. You go outside, doing whatever you're doing in a daily routine, whatever you're doing it. Never think in this today's subject, right? And then once times comes to suffering, you shocked again. What else? Maybe I remember something. It's too late. So therefore, every day, get familiar with this kind of thought. To think every sentient being is suffering by ignorance. Every sentient being suffering by the self-grasping. Every sentient being suffering by changing suffering. Every sentient being changed by their negative emotion. Every day think it, then it's let you think at the moment, yes, they are suffering. That's the way we cultivate love and compassion. Okay? Okay, so maybe I will take rest to ask my voice. So I want to hear your thought or whatever you have, question or comment. Yeah.
I have a question about relinquishing wealth and fame.
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist logic. If you're wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
is it because you were generous in another life?
If you do, you should have a wealth.
Okay. So I think maybe a distinction needs to be made between wealth and greed.
No,
No?
No,
Okay.
no. Wealth is, expectation wealth is, because say if I win the lottery, right, then I said I'll give you 50%, right, before I get it. It's very much possible once I get it, you will not get 50%. Possible, right? See, never trust. So it's wealth. It's generally attaching in a wealth. It's bad. So the Bodhisattva is at the very beginning. They collect the wealth. Their motivation is totally different. Our motivation is with attachment, and greed is already there. Therefore, we don't have to make separate. As well as greedy there, then he will not get 50%, right? So, big change. It's a big change.
So wealth it can still be a good thing if you have the correct motivation behind it.
Definitely. One of our retreat with the Tibetan youth, and they're too much concerning about that detachment. So, and then, is this possible? I work hard to get more money while I'm generating compassion. I say, very much possible. It's very much possible. It's not conflict. It goes together. Cultivating compassion and cultivate the wealth, it goes together. It's not conflict. So if the attachment and wealth, that comes turn into the conflict possible, right? So that's what we can do. The way beginning, if you well practice, you enough, I'm not saying eliminate completely, you enough reduce your greedy and attachment. You're collecting wealth with your motivation, makes sense. You never reduce your greed and attachment, but still you have a good motivation. If I win the lottery, giving you 50%. As far as you have that, never reduce it. It makes you change. You are not changing though. That greedy will change you. So, okay, that expectation will change you, right? So therefore, it's possible. It goes together. You know, one of the mind training said, having wealth is beautiful. Not having wealth is beautiful. Both has a different reason. Not having wealth is beautiful because I'm more calm and relaxed, less worry, right? So as like homeless people, yeah, I don't know. So they have it, but I always see they are relaxed and sleep in the street, no problem at all. But the who is wealthy, running here and there, and who do not have money, sleep on the street. So at the outside, when we look at, there are more peace that I see it, but inside we never know, right? So, but and on the practical, we can question ask them. We found they're more calm and they're more relaxed rather than the wealthy people, right? Wealthy people is more busy and more worry, dissatisfaction. That's just the problem. Anyhow, so, and this is the reason saying not having wealth is beautiful. Having wealth is beautiful because whatever you collected, you can turn into your generosity practice, right? If you do, then yes, it is good to have wealth. Yeah.
Then can this also apply to, like, I guess, all the 8 worldly concerns?
Mhm.
That they can all be transformed into something good if you have the correct motivation behind it?
8 worldly concerning?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 worldly concerning, we divide into 3. Completely negative 8 worldly concerning, and positive 8 worldly concerning, and mixed 8 worldly concerning. The positive 8 worldly concerning is regarding the achieving Buddhahood and Nirvana is still negative. It should be abandoned. But positive worldly concerning, if you are this life having peaceful or next life having rebirth better, that's help. That's connected. You don't have to be 100% abandoned while you're doing practice, right? So that's we call positive worldly concerning. Say, for example, right? The people in generally, naturally, they're only, like I say, very strong self-centeredness. Everything doing for themselves. That's one type of person there. There's some type of person there, yes, they do have a self-centeredness, but still they're concerning others. But their behavior is messed up, not really respect and these things. And another person's there, they do have a self-centeredness, they're more concerning other, and based on that, their moral ethics are better. So these three types, right? The positive adversely concerning more refers with the third one, which is having good moral ethics and having more concerning other. I'm not saying cherish to other, more concerning other. So, but still do have a self-centeredness. All these three people do have a self-centeredness, but difference is stronger, right? The third person is not that strong because they're more strong to concerning other. Second person is 50-50. The first person is 100% self-centeredness. They never ever have a concerning others, right? This three person sees in our world a lot, right? So the positive adverse concern is third one. It's help more better. You should try to help gain more better to you based on you have moral ethics, right? So that kind of things you're talking?
Yeah. Also just like, I guess then like the ones that are like, like how you said, like the negative ones, can, someone who has, very strong bodhicitta or is, valuable bodhisattva, can they also be able to use those eight worldly concerns for the benefit of others?
No.
Okay.
No, 100%. No, definitely not. Because look at the adversely concerning. Definitely they are self-centeredness, cherishing yourself. Bodhisattva 100% cherishing other. They never help that cherishing yourself, right? But for us as ordinary being, some part of adversely concerning might help us to getting this life peace and having next life rebirth better. But definitely not nirvana or Buddhahood. Not. If your aim is Buddhahood and nirvana, you must abandon that adversely concerning while you're doing practice, right? So yeah, same as like attachment, desire. Regarding Buddhahood and nirvana, we have to 100% eliminate it. There's no way with attachment to having nirvana. It's impossible. We must eliminate it for having nirvana and Buddhahood. But just having peace life in this or better life in next, not necessarily that you have to 100% eliminate it. Desire to next life. Desire for next life, that brings you do something good today. Because you see the cause, or I have to, my 10 virtues practice do better, because this is the cause for next life better. But you have a desire to having non-virtues. But I never used to have desire to having nirvana. I can use you have desire to having this life peace. You have a desire to next life better. That's definitely desire, yes. But the nirvana and Buddhahood never say desire. I desire to have nirvana. For me, almost I'm seeing that I have an attachment to having nirvana. That's conflict. You have to abandon the attachment for nirvana, right? It's totally different.
Isn't renunciation a desire?
No, opposite of desire. Yeah. Renunciation.
But isn't it a desire to get out of samsara?
No.
No. Okay, I'm wrong.
Yeah, desire to get out samsara means you're keeping desire and attain samsara, right? Impossible. Because you must eliminate desire for having nirvana, right? So therefore, do not use the term desire for out of samsara or desire for Buddhahood. But you can use having desire for having this life peaceful or next life better. That's definitely you can use this. Because it's worked. So therefore, Edward is concerned works that way. Yeah. Yes, go, Jordan.
At the beginning of the teaching today, you were talking about responding in anger or irritation or such ways. But I'd be interested to hear from you how you deal with this in the opposite way. When someone gets angry at you or irritated or impatient or whatever, and then blames you for that, what is a good way to deal with that?
As I said, they are suffering. What they do not have every time anger, right?
Say that again, please?
Whoever shows anger,
Yes.
they will not necessarily every time and every day have anger. Sometimes anger comes, sometimes do not comes. What cause should be the anger manifested? That's depend. And that leads you intention to blame you.
Yes, but what I'm asking about is that when this takes place over time, so repeatedly, and I understand it, that it's the suffering of this other person that is prompting that. But that doesn't stop the blaming. It doesn't address the blaming.
Same. Even they do not have anger, they may have some leading their motivation to blame to you. What their motivations? The motivation lead by what kind of thoughts? That's also same. It comes from jealousy, same suffering. Right? It comes from resentment, same suffering. Isn't it?
Yes, and I understand.
Then what?
Well, it's just about, I mean, this is an issue with my son, and it comes up again and again and again that his suffering or anxiety in this last case, I sent a text to say, I have some thoughts about, and he responded with enormous anxiety. And it was my fault for making him anxious. So it's a question of,
I see.
I can see that for what it is, but I don't seem to be very successful at addressing it in a way that is fruitful.
You're mainly asking that you don't want the cause to have them anger. That's what you're asking?
I don't want him to have to suffer that anger.
By your cause, right?
Well, yes, also.
Okay, that's also.
I don't want him to have to be an angry person. Okay.
You are out of control.
I don't like it when he
Yeah.
assumes that I am the cause of his anger or his anxiety or his irritation or, many, many things.
So we always wish no one has anger. Not him or she who close to me. Everyone. We wish it. Right? And even the close one, we wish it. We're hoping it. But practically, it's not happening. It's out of your control.
Yes.
It's out of control. But what you can control is you shouldn't be the cause them to have anxiety and anger. Sometimes even you might be fail to let them have cause because some important parts. Their ignorance not see it's important. But what you must have to establish that important. And regarding that, they might have anxiety again, right? This is really depend on how you deal with it and how you choose it, how you say it, how you act it, right? So skillful, that's talks, yeah, skillful. So always talks the half glass is full instead of half glass is half empty, right? So that kind of talks will be the better help. And then here, they're impossible that I can help them to never ever have anger. That's impossible. That's not our condition. This is not our power. This is not our ability. Based on that, do best you are skillful. Something happening, you just think this is you out of your handle. It's not my ability. And then regarding if you see that, then you go back, cultivate more compassion to inner strength, right? Build up more inner strength. Then come back, it might be better, turn it better, right? So true fire is close, and wildfire things, I'm not let them having big fires. Another fires things, I'm not let them have big fires. When it comes together, there are no way to have big fire. So they are small fire. It should be have big fire because both are having fire. One is calm, one is water, right? Then another doesn't matter how strong fire, at least something can do it, right? So therefore, if you're not finding the enough solution to not having them anxiety and anger, even you try your best way to skillful to do it, then you go back to build up your inner strength, compassion to that person. So this is the good way to help, I think. As you asking?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes, no, I'm just looking for a skillful way to do that, what that really means in that moment.
So,
I can now choose not to respond when this comes on. But I'd like to be able to help them.
yeah, we see that. So skillful is part of the wisdom, right? The part of the wisdom is not always innately there.
It's not always what?
Innately there. That means you understand what you have to do, right?
Yes.
You have to develop your wisdom. You have to develop your skillful with your reading book or whatever. Skillfuls comes from, in many different way. So beside that, you just rely on your normal thought to having skillful, maybe help, maybe not help. Maybe you will find not enough skillful. Then turn back to yourself, having anger to yourself. So why I'm not skillful? That's also bad. That's bad, right? So it's kind of like why elephants not climbing a tree? Same, right? So this based on their capacity. Your capacity have that much. You shouldn't have anger that. So just try to see, oh, this is my capacity. Okay, I cannot do that much skillful. So, but I do have a potential. I do have an opportunity to develop my skillful. We do have this potential and opportunity to develop skillful. So that use it instead of throw anger to yourself. Don't forget that you have a potential, and don't forget that our capacity has a limited. Right? So combine these two together and think. Then it help you to develop others, and so it's possible that you never cause them have anxiety and anger. It's possible. I mean, I'm not taking the never, right? But it's less. Never is impossible as our ordinary beings. Never is impossible, right? Even Buddha himself is completely enlightened. No more emotion, negative emotion there. Completely free from self-grasping, all this. But still possible to cause them to have anger. This is not the Buddha's wrong. This is not his realization's wrong. That's the person's wrong, right? So that differentiated any small things, right? We make differentiated, then you can deal better. Put all together, confused, then we're lost. Definitely lost. So small things differentiated, then it's good. It's not my part. This is not my capacity. And then I don't have a skillful, but I do have a potential to develop skillful. And once I have, I'm out of control. Those are like a thing at the moment, to here and there. So try to find it out, the better solution. Does help. Right. Okay. Okay. Online. Oh yeah, Richard already hand raised. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a question, just a quotation I found after last session, and this has to do with the first verse, which is up there. I cannot read the numbers you have on the Tibetan numbers. I think it might be number 2, the one about anger. You see the one higher? Yeah. Oh well.
You read it, then we'll find it out.
Well, I'll just tell you the quote. It's about anger. I found it in, I think it was Atisha, Teachings from the Heart, I think it was called. And he said, oh, no, it wasn't about anger. It was about finding faults in others. He said, do not look for faults in others. Look only for faults in yourself. And when you find it, purge it like bad blood. And I thought that was very interesting about not looking for faults in others, and perhaps appropriate to the teaching you gave us last time about that. But then another quote I wanted to ask you a little bit about was about anger. And so you were teaching about anger today. And it's a quote I saw in your temple, in your room, where you had a big board that said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And I'm just wondering, is this a known teaching? Do you know who originally said that? And then if you could just talk a little bit about that, because it's really true. I find myself, and I'm sure other people in this class find them, we sometimes find ourselves experiencing anger very suddenly, and it's too quick. It happens suddenly when anger just arises within us, and it's so fast we don't have time to think about it, and already we've done something. We might have slapped someone in the face, or honked our horn very loudly when we're driving and someone cuts us off, or swear at someone, or something very quickly happens, and then it's too late. It's already come out. That action has already happened. And so all this talk about reducing anger and using compassion to keep anger from happening, I think is very powerful. I'd like to learn how to do that, and also learn what to do after it's too late. If my anger has already arisen and I've already done something, is there, like, I think a way to deal with that? Sometimes I do, I'm sure other people do, hang on to anger for a very long time, sometimes weeks, sometimes years. I can sometimes have myself remembering something that happened years ago, that someone said something, and I guess it all comes down to this teaching today. What you're talking about today is our inability to really think about others and think of their suffering, because we're so self-centered. It's as if it's in our DNA, as if it's a Darwinian survival mechanism, anger, it's very different. I think anger is very different than fear, but both anger and fear arise almost instantly. And then too late, we already have it. Maybe you can give us some advice.
Okay. I don't have anything to give new advice, okay? But just reminding it. So the first thing is, you can keep saying that I keep in my room, that big boards, right? So it's every day seeing it, reminding you. And then this is from one of the sutra. It's Buddha's quote. And then I don't think we have to explain what his meaning is, but part of reducing anger. But yeah, if you're still looking at the solution of anger, what happened in this 9 years learning Buddhism? So, therefore, at the very beginning of today's class, I said, investigate first, and definitely need to change your begin to change. The beginning change is not necessarily always the problems comes. So beginning change you should do every day, every day, every day, every day. Familiar with it, then it's not that fast you can slap it. It makes you stop, right? If you think every day, and then your mind is too much concerning having anger is bad, or aware with it, then it will help you to stop, not slap to others. If you go to normal, never think of the daily life, then it goes. So I encourage it, whoever wants to reduce anger, everyday practice. Everyday practice. Everyday practice means not saying prayer and reciting mantra. Everyday practice means cultivate it within your mind or transform your mind to positive. That's the right. And this is the important part, every day. Okay. So whether you are happy or not, whether you are like busy or not, every day we must find the time to do this practice, part of the reducing, right? And what kind of practice? There are numerous that we talked, right? So look, the Chandideva chapter 6, the Passion chapter, a lot of help to how to do, what practice we need to do it. And then also at this time, today I said, whenever you see someone having anger, try to see them as immediate suffering. They suffer instead of as anger, right? That kind of things. And then also, we can sometimes think that every being is childish, right? So that better help us to how we forgive and treat to children. The easy way, gentle way that we do, because we think it's children, right? But we are children then. Or whoever you see, or yourself, some part of we are children. That's help, I think, right? Whoever anger, immediately think, oh, they're angers. Because they're children, they're not intently thinking, I'm going to have anger. All this comes automatically. Even they don't like it, right? Even we don't like to have anger. It comes with some condition, out of control, right? It comes. So this is childish. So therefore, no one have an intention to have anger. That's clear within ourselves to others, everyone. That's clear. So based on that, whatever anger comes, they might have a problem. They might have a trouble. Something there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also thank you for pointing out that when we see others with anger and we see them as suffering, then we can see that even when we have anger in ourselves, I suppose, we can see we are suffering, and that could motivate us perhaps to wish to release this desire and the causes, I guess, the causes like the 8 worldly concerns and such for anger. Thank you.
Yeah. So one more, I'm repeating here. How to practice is every day. Imaginationally, you should do it. Even you not meet the angry person directly, but imaginationally, it will come to you. Imaginationally, you think that you meet the angry person, and then you react it. You try to react it positive in your in your imaginations. This is how we get familiar and develop. And then actual life, it's happening. Yeah, please, yeah.
Is it okay to?
Thank you, Geshe.
Is
it okay to remove yourself from situations that make you angry, and then you can develop your own inner strength and your own skillful way away from the anger, and then come back and maybe address it in a more stronger way?
This is the best way to do it, the beginner.
Yeah.
Stay away from them. Sometimes, we never know who's causing us anger, who having anger. We never know, right? So we try to stay away who's we familiar with angry person, but we cannot stay away from every single person, right? And they do have anger. We never know, but yes, that's the best way to do it. Who is not always annoying, who is familiar with you, get more strength. Get more strength means you should do something, not just avoid is helpful. So avoiding is taking chance. The avoiding is not antidote, right? To reduce anger. We should know. Many of us having confused. Avoiding is antidote that we think. 100% not. I always think avoiding is taking chance to getting better. Yeah.
So as to what Richard was saying, anger is what brought me here in the first place.
Uh-huh.
I was very angry all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I learned by analyzing my anger, it was very habitual.
I see.
And where I learned, you gotta start small, Richard, where I learned to control it was in the supermarket. Because I used to get very angry in the supermarket, in the parking lot, with the wagons, with the people in the middle of the lane, and the too many people online. And I actually started learning to control my anger there.
Yeah.
And then you could start branching out like that. Start small.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So same way. You're learning anger in supermarket. Now I'm learning reducing my ego within public. So once I go to the puja with the big group monks, I try to sit at the end instead of looking at top one. So and then I pretend know nothing. Some ritual actually I knows, but I pretend know nothing. I just keep up, So whatever they said it. They said it. They say, these monks don't know anything. It's okay. That's why I'm trying to reduce my ego today. Yeah, that's good to do it. Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, once big group monks gathering together, I'm not saying all monks. But some monks they're always looking to sit at the top because they are reputation, and they pretend they know something chant, which they don't know. Pretend there's something like hand mudra and ritualing. This pretend they knows. They don't know. So when I see them, okay, then I say, oh, this is good way to reduce ego. Okay, I pretend know nothing. Some part I don't know. That's true, but which I knows, I pretend know nothing. Because their concerning is, I see, losing their reputation in front of their student or in front of the public. When they lose reputation, they think, okay, the people will not follow me because they thinking as I know nothing. That's I try to give up or whatever. Even they don't follow, I'm okay. They don't follow, I'm okay. I pretend know nothing. So this is big help to reduce ego. Yeah, that's helpful. Sometimes forcefully we have to do it. Sometimes gentle way we do have to do it, but every time we do something. Yeah. Does this help? Okay, so we're going to stop here. Anyone have a question on online? Okay, so it's fine then. So next Sunday I will be not here. I'm going to New Jersey for Medicine Buddha event. Annie Tentel will come here to teach. Maybe she might continue on compassion things. I don't know. Just let you know. And have a wonderful day. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe.
Much, Geshe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.